So my name is Asli Karaevli. I'm a volunteer at the Samuel Proctor Oral History Program, and today's date is March 12th. Right now we are with Mr. Cameron Pierce.
Camden Pierce.
Camden Pierce. Thank you. Would you mind spelling your name, please?
Sure. First name is Camden. Last name is Pierce, Pierce.
Thank you. And when were you born?
I was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico in 1960, October 20th.
Thank you. And have you been a lifelong Episcopalian?
Yeah, yep. I was baptized by Father Canon, I think when I was 2 years old or 3 years old.
Wow.
With my brother, so I don't have much of a memory of it, but I was told that my brother cried a great deal, but that I was very calm.
Good. And what brought you and your family to Holy Trinity?
Well, it's again, I was born and brought into the Episcopal Church as a youth. My parents were both very active. My father is and still is a lay reader and was the Acolyte master at St. John's Episcopal Church in North Adams, Massachusetts, and my mother was the choir director and organist there. So I was kind of brought up in the denomination in Massachusetts. We moved there when I was about 5 or 6 years old from New Mexico. And my wife was a Methodist, and we met at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana, and she got a job down here at the University of Florida, and so I followed her down here, we kind of spent a little time. Well, I guess I should kind of backtrack a little bit because we were not married when we came down here. Or she came down here. I came down in the summer of 1991, and we kind of scoped out churches to get married at. And we went to the Episcopal Church, Holy Trinity Episcopal Church there. My wife had been an organ major in college at one point, and she was looking for a big organ. And quite frankly, the organ at that time at Holy Trinity, this was 1992 or 1991, as I said, it wasn't all that impressive. So we wound up getting married at the Methodist church just down the street, just because the organ was better. And as luck would have it, I mean, that was the weekend that Trinity Episcopal burned down. And so, we were actually in our honeymoon in Amelia Island, and we read about this place where we almost got married had burned to the ground. We came back, and a little bit later we started thinking about church, and we kind of went around to a couple different places, but we just got caught up, I think, in this story of Holy Trinity Church burning down and coming back. So we started attending Holy Trinity when they were meeting in the parish hall. This would have been later in 1992, early 1993, that kind of thing. After they get the parish hall functional again. So that's when we started again. It was a sort of something that was important to me, I think, and she was willing to kind of give up her Methodist background in order to kind of participate there. And she was very pleased that the music program at the Holy Trinity Church has really taken off, and she sings in the choir and so forth. So it was a nice fit in that way as well.
And I think she's an English professor at the university.
Yeah, Marcia Bryant. She teaches English at the university.
Yeah, I made a little research on it.
Oh, okay. So you haven't had her in a class yet?
No.
You should, if you have a chance.
Definitely. And how have you been involved in the church?
I think we started going more or less regularly before we had kids. It would have been 1993 or something like that. I think it really solidified when we had our son Nicholas, 1996, and we just really loved the priests, in particular Father Jeremy. So we asked him to baptize Nick, and he did a wonderful job. Read a poem, I think ever since then we've been more conscious about being regular attendees.
Oh, wonderful! Thank you. And what is that appeals to you about Holy Trinity as a place of worship to rear your son to participate?
For me, it has such a resonance. I just love the liturgy. I love the space. And the ministers have all been, fine people. I think, all really good people in their own way. We started there, I guess, when Frank Pittman was there, and then and Jim Wright and Jeremy, Father Jeremy, and then Gordon Tremaine, was very dynamic, and Carrie Robb kind of came in as an interim, and Luann Locke has done, I think, a nice job, a fine job. So the the quality of the people in leadership and just the relationships, I think that we've developed over time have been very valuable to us, and for our son, to have a place where he can go, and know people and grow up in a community is really invaluable. I just think it gives you a sense of connection to, to the community and to time. Church, I think, is about moving through time, your life and other people's lives, and coming together and sharing that.
True. Thank you. And has the fire impacted the life of the church negatively or positively, in your opinion, since it just happened?
The fire I guess it's hard for me to say, because we really weren't involved with the church before the fire, except to check it out, and it was kind of it was, quite frankly, a nice building, but it was kind of dark inside, and it just, we really liked what the new parish looked like after it was completed. So I don't know that it was negative. Maybe it was positive in that it kind of generated a sort of camaraderie and coming together, and in a sense it's part of what probably attracted us, because we came in right after the fire happened, during that rebuilding effort. So we really kind of, I guess, had that as our first impression of the actual congregation.
But you were attracted before you were planning to do your honeymoon in there, so... Well,
we were married in the Methodist church, just down the street from there. Like I said, because of the organ, Willis Bodine, we both sang for the Bodine Chorale, which was a choral group that was active at the time, and so that was sort of a criteria. And then we went to Amelia Island for our honeymoon, is where we read about the church burning down, and of course that was happening all over. There were all kinds of I guess it was one person, but all kinds of churches burning, being burned right around that area. A number of churches right on this street, 34th Street, were burned, and in Jacksonville and all throughout the Southeast. But then we started attending after that, just it felt good to be part of this rebuilding kind of effort. And I think it goes to show, a church is about the people, not about the space, really. You come down to it.
True. And I know you mentioned that the church helped like connecting your son and then the others, but could you add anything like for instance, how has the Holy Trinity program served your son specifically and your wife?
Well, boy, I think that those are kind of two different stories there. My son has been active at Holy Trinity since he was baptized there. Probably 3 or 4 months old at the time. And I still remember him, going up to communion, waving this little cross that he had. He just loved this little cross for some reason. And Father Pittman would kind of roll his eyes, with the crucifer kid. He went to Sunday school pretty regularly, and he was active in the youth group, going on some little trips and so forth. Back when John Satula was the youth minister, he was really just a wonderful resource for Nick. Nick had some issues that he was kind of working through at that time, sort of middle school kinds of things, and John Satula was, sort of took Nick under his wing a little bit and talked to him on a number of occasions, and that was just really, I think, a good experience for Nick, and it was tough when Father Satula left, but yeah, he has good friends that he's really had all his life. I'd sort of backtrack a little bit there. Holy Trinity Child Caring Center is a function of the church, part of its mission. I don't know if you're familiar with the Child Caring Center. It's right now off of 16th Street, 16th Avenue, I should say, near 13th Street, not very far from here. So Nick went to preschool there for 3 years, starting when he was 2, I guess. And so, the church had a big impact in that regard. It provided a lot of care and a lot of love. Eleanor Henry, passed away a few years ago, but just did a wonderful job as the director of Holy Trinity Child Caring Center when Nick was there. I wish I brought some pictures for you to look at, but he made a couple of his friends are still friends of his that he keeps in touch with through church and in the community from those days at Holy Trinity Child Caring Center. Now he's been an acolyte there since I'm the acolyte master myself, so I sort of follow my father's footsteps, I guess. So my son has been an acolyte there since he was 9. He's 16 now, so a good 7 years of service. He's a sophomore, so hopefully we'll get another couple of years.
He's following you.
Well, yeah, whether he likes it or not. Yep. He isn't in the choir though. I was made to be in the choir, but he's resisted that. And he did choristers for a year or so back when, I guess, Lee Cobb was the director, and he enjoyed that. But singing's not kind of his thing right now, so that's not on the table. But singing is my wife's thing, and she has been a very active member of the choir for at least, I'd say, 10 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. Lee Cobb is when she was the choir master when she joined the choir and became active. I think she, decided that she had time to sing, needed to sing, and then she's, been very active under John Lowe as the director, and so she's gotten a lot out of that. She just has wonderful friends through choir, and she enjoys the music and the excitement of being part of a service. Right. So I was talking about my wife and her experience of music and being in the choir. Whereas, I have not been in the choir, in part because it is a lot of time, but also I've been the acolyte master for the last 5 years or so. I sort of lose track. Maybe it's 6 years now. I took over from Ray Warner, who was the acolyte master for 10 or 12 years before that. So, I'm kind of active before service coordinating the kids, right? It's an active group, but we have usually a minimum of 4 kids, but often 6 kids or more if it's a big service who are involved as acolytes. So my role is to kind of get them robed up and ready to serve. Are you familiar with the Episcopal service?
No.
Asli? Well, you should go so you know what we're talking about. Because it is kind of a high church deal where everybody does wear robes and there's a big procession with a cross and a verger. Now, a verger is this person with kind of a stick that he carries as he or she walks up the aisle and flags and so forth. So it's a real procession. The choir is robed and comes up the middle, and so part of my role is to help facilitate the kids so that they can participate in this pageantry and the service. They sit up front, in the sanctuary with the priests and the callicifers who provide the bread and the wine, and they really are a part of the service. So that's my job. And then when they're ready, I'll just go into the congregation and join the crowd. Right.
Beautiful. And how do you see Holy Trinity functioning as a downtown church?
Well, certainly. I think with the homeless people, you can't. I think overstate that part of their mission, of the church's mission. The Interfaith Hospitality Network program. If you're familiar with that, it sort of provides shelter for several families, usually with kids, for extended periods, working through a sort of a network of 11 or 12 different churches. That's, I think, an important ministry, but also, the homeless community, the street side breakfast. I'm not personally a part of that, but, you show up on Sunday and you see, homeless people who would actually come and attend service, or, they kind of nod and wave as you walk in, and you go there during the week and there'll be people who are coming in. So I think that element is critical, in terms of it being a downtown church. I think that aspect, I know with the capital campaign that they're going to develop, they want to expand the downtown presence of the church. Having the Child Caring Center, which is now on 16th Avenue, move down to Main Street and expanding that so it's a bigger facility, or people who live downtown can bring their kids to the daycare center there, even turning it potentially into an elementary school is the dream, I think, and then also the little shops and so forth they want to have there as part of the downtown community. I think it's a nice presence downtown. There was a period, I've been here for 20 years now. It's a period where I think downtown was kind of dissipating a little bit, but I think Gainesville as a community, the downtown has definitely become more central again. It's a more happening place. As a student, maybe you appreciate that.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful architecture too.
The church or downtown? Yeah. Yeah, it reminds me of up north. You don't see many gray stone buildings down in Gainesville. It is that traditional,
feeling,
right, kind of semi-Gothic look. It's nice. Yeah.
Thank you. And I know you described your role as an acolyte master.
Acolyte
master, but would you like to add anything more to that?
To my role as acolyte master?
Yeah.
In terms of what I do for the church, we have we have right now about 16, 17 kids who are involved, which is great. You know, we had about 16, 17 kids, and we unfortunately lost a bunch of them, half of them, when John Satula left, because they're so involved with him, and there was just so much emotion, I think, that came through that. So it's been heartening to see the new kids come in. You know, just last Sunday, 2 Sundays ago, the 3rd, we had a new training session, and so we were able to bring in a couple of new kids, some little girls. So, you know, that brings our numbers up a little bit more. They start in carrying the gospel when it's really heavy, you know, for them. They're about this tall, and then, you know, it's nice to see them grow up, and then they become, you know, torch bearers, and then the flags and the cross, you know, so they get to kind of progress through the ranks, so to speak. You know, so they come in all sizes, and it's rewarding for me to see the kids who stick with it and kind of, you know, take it as their own contribution to the church. And I think it is a real contribution that they make, you know, for the church, so that I'm facilitating that. It's very rewarding. You know, what else? It's just, you know, it's always fun to be a part of kids' schedules. You know how harried they are, how overbooked. So that's, thank God for email and parents who, you know, can let me know. So we have to facilitate kids' schedules so that they can actually do it. You know, most kids have several conflicts during a month. This next, end of this month, we have Holy Week, which is a huge deal, you know, going into to Easter, you know, Palm Sunday through Easter. And so there are multiple services, and trying to get coverage, getting all the kids lined up for that, is a bit of an ordeal. But it's good when it happens. It's very exciting to work through all of that. The big services are a show. Again, you have to come.
Yeah, I'd love to, and I'll do it definitely. And what are the goals and challenges, opportunities for the future for downtown Holy Trinity?
Wow. Well, the challenges and opportunities. I think the challenges are pretty straightforward for any religious organization, regardless of where they're located. I mean, we're at a religious organization right here, doing this interview, a different one. And, you know, nationwide, you have declining participation. People who maybe are enrolled aren't as engaged as maybe they once might have been, in part because of, you know, the internet and the diffuse ways that we communicate with each other, you know, Facebook and you know, texting and all that. You know, we don't come together as often as a culture. I think we don't come together to you know, be in a celebratory mode, you know, to celebrate our connectedness to each other and to the universe and, you know, to God, however you define God. You know, I mean, it's really important, I think, to come together and have shared experiences. And so the challenge is, you know, helping people recognize that they're being disconnected from each other and from, you know, the most human kinds of connection, and inviting them in and getting them to participate and to feel, you know, that kind of larger connection. I think for a downtown church, that's maybe even exacerbated because, you know, so many of us don't live downtown. You know, we spread out into the suburbs. You know, we're 5 miles from downtown right now. You know, where I live is about 10 miles from downtown. So it's, you know, to get to downtown is, you know, it's 20 minutes sometimes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes to go from where I live to the church. And if I'm there making multiple trips because of my son being in a youth group or choir practice, whatever, you know, shuttling we're doing, you know, I mean, that's a commitment of time. And I know people who have left the church in part because, you know, it was inconvenient to get there. So they either stop going or they go someplace else. So staying relevant, you know, is always a challenge, I think, to people, and attracting them in. You know, it's always going to be a challenge, and maybe increasingly so. But there also, you know, there's a big challenge right now with the campaign, trying to build up this downtown presence, as we were saying before. You know, keeping people involved and giving and you know, attentive to the needs of the church. You know, because it's so easy to get distracted with, you know, school or job or friends who are on Facebook or what have you.
True. But do you have any suggestions though, like personal suggestions, how to attract people to the church? Or
well, you know, I think you have to do what you do. You know, I think that providing a high quality worship experience, you know, stimulating sermons and you know, the ritual and presenting the ritual in a way that people find, you know, compelling, is essential. And then having the kinds of activities that people feel are meaningful, you know, opportunities to engage with one another. You know, I think the church is doing a good job of that by and large. I don't have, you know, I think it's important to keep people in positions, you know, where they can do what they do really well. And I think that you know, Kristen Bryant is the religious education director. I think she's really doing a nice job in kind of growing into that position. And John Lowe in music. You know, I like the people that they've brought in. And, you know, allowing them to continue to grow and to, you know, do what they do is I think, critical. You know, I don't have specific suggestions. I mean, I'd like to see, you know, my son's involved in the youth group. I'd like to see that grow a little more, but that's hard, you know, to kind of really get teenagers engaged because their schedules are just so overbooked at times. I know we've seen that with our own son. But
those exams.
Yeah, exams and sports and music and you know other people. You know, yeah, their attention is easily distracted. Yeah.
Thank you. And we have been talking about. And do you have? My last question is: would you like to add anything or?
Well, I'm really pleased that you've taken this, you know, this opportunity, you know, provided this opportunity. You know, it is, you know, the thing about a church is, such as Holy Trinity, is that it's been around for a long time. You know, it goes back to the 1800s here, and I think it was the first church in Gainesville that was really established here, if I'm not mistaken. And it's nice to think of it continuing to have a presence, you know, in lives down the road. And that's kind of the way I think of the procession, you know. It's like a big, long train that goes way back, you know, to ancient times and will process out, you know, into the future forever, you know. So when we're part of that, and I think we get to experience being a part of that long procession every time we go and participate in the worship there. So I hope it continues for a long time.
I hope so too. Thank you so much for taking your time at the fellowship and doing this interview with me and talking with us.
My pleasure, yeah.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome.
Thank you.